In a sprawling empire ruled by a vain and ignorant emperor, a strange illness known as the China flu swept through the land. Though many suffered only mild symptoms, fear and confusion took hold. Desperate to display wisdom and power, the emperor turned to his so-called experts, though they knew as little about the illness as he did. The royal scholar, known more for his speeches than practical understanding, confidently announced, "Your Majesty, the answer is clear. Lock down the empire, and the illness will vanish." The emperor issued the decree confining everyone to their homes. Weeks passed, but the illness continued. The emperor, unwilling to appear foolish, turned to the court physician. This physician had been profiting handsomely, selling masks and disinfectants to a fearful public. "Your Majesty," said the physician, "we must make masks mandatory. These will stop the deadly droplets that spread the illness." The emperor, too vain to question, made masks mandatory, and the physician's coffers swelled. But the illness persisted. The emperor, growing nervous, declared, "Everyone must stay 6 feet apart, and we shall put up plastic screens to block the droplets." Those who questioned these measures were labelled stupid or bad, incapable of seeing the emperor's supposed wisdom. Those who obeyed without thinking were praised. The experts continued to make fortunes while the people still suffered. Then a final golden solution was presented: vaccine. These were heralded as miracle cures. The emperor declared everyone must take them, and the experts grew wealthier still. Yet, despite this new promise, the vaccines proved far less effective than claimed, offering only minimal protection. The only clear outcome was the vast fortunes accumulated by those promoting them. One day, during a royal procession, a brave child spoke out, questioning what everyone had been forced to accept. "Why are we wearing masks?" the child asked, "when a Danish study showed they barely work. It said masks only reduce the risk of contracting the virus by 5%, which is almost nothing. If they help so little, why are we forced to wear them?" The crowd fell silent, and the emperor stopped, his face reddening beneath his golden mask. The child pressed on. "And what about the droplets?" the child asked. "They float in the air like dust. How does staying 6 feet apart help if the droplets are just hanging there? What good are the plastic screens if the air moves around them? And why do we have to wear masks outside, where the concentration of droplets will be so diluted that it would pose a minimal risk?" The experts shifted uncomfortably, unable to respond. Their solutions had brought them riches, but now the truth was being spoken. Yet the child wasn't done. "And the vaccines?" the child continued. "You said they would save us, but they didn't stop the illness, even after having 5 or 6 booster shots. They only made the experts rich. How can we still trust them?" The crowd began to murmur. Many who had silently doubted but were too afraid to speak now nodded. "It's true," one person said. "If the vaccines were so effective, why are we still getting sick?" Another added, "The masks don't even stop virus from escaping. They're useless for filtering anything but big bits of mucus." Realizing that his authority was slipping, the emperor shouted, "This child is foolish! Trust the experts, they know best!" But the truth was out. The emperor's decrees had been driven by pride, ignorance, and the experts' greed. Too much money and pride were at stake to admit mistakes. The emperor knew that backpedaling would be political suicide, so he and his advisers stuck to their narrative, even as evidence piled up against them. In reality, the measures had only lined the pockets of the powerful. The contradictory advice, the lockdowns that harmed the poor, the useless masks, and the ineffective vaccines, none had been about protecting the people. They had been about maintaining control and enriching those who pretended to know best. The child's questions had shattered the illusion. The emperor and his experts had mismanaged the crisis from the beginning, and now the people saw clearly. Some still clung to their masks, too proud to admit they had been fooled. But for most, the illusion of the emperor's wisdom was broken. The empire learned too late that fear, vanity, and greed had caused more damage than the illness ever could.